hit the air with that though. Yeah. Alright.
I done bought the whole thing. A whole thing. Now I'm finna break it down. The whole thing. Nobody can't tell me nothing. That bought the whole thing. Now I feel super stretched. That bought the whole thing. I done bought the whole thing. A whole thing. Now I'm finna break it down. The whole thing. Nobody can't tell me nothing. That bought the whole thing. Now I feel super stretched.
Street rug, bitch.
I done bought a 36. She kill O'Neal, finna make it disappear. David Copperfield, got a plug and test it, bruh. Tommy Tuberville, I bought that bitch for 22. That's a ghetto deal, now I'm off in Gatorland. I'm passing Gameville, driving like a old lady. 2 hands on the wheel, he fronted one, I bought me one. Now that's a fucking steal, you can call me Babyface. I got that whip appeal, riding with that 45. I guess I'm trying to live, listening to that UGK. The pimp was super trill, still doing the speed limit. I'm almost home, feeling like Pimp C. A pocket full of skirts. I done bought a whole thing. A whole thing, now I'm finna break it down. The whole thing, nobody can't tell me nothing. That bought a whole thing, now I feel super stretched. That bought a whole thing, I done bought a whole thing. A whole thing, now I'm finna break it down. The whole thing, nobody can't tell me nothing. That bought a whole thing, now I feel super stretched. That bought a whole thing. I ain't by the 2-piece, I bought the whole chicken. I ain't by the quarter bird, I bought the whole pigeon. I bought me the big boy, ain't want that damn midget. I bought me the whole pie, ain't want the half pippin'. This right here gon' cost you more, gon' run your 5 digits. I knew I was gon' copy, knew I was gon' get it. You better go get you one, cause this is where it's at. I'm talking that white. Big B and Big came with a tattoo. It got a stamp on it, nobody ain't got work. I might stamp on it. 2 Siamese twins, somebody damn clone it. Numbers too damn high, then on
Street
damn
runners,
want
bitch.
it.